Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining us for another episode of Here Before, Here Now. November definitely has been a really busy month, getting a lot of stories out there. Last week we were able to highlight Rock Your Mocks, which was a really cool thing to do. And if you haven't seen my Facebook page, I shared the clip where I wore my mocks on the air here, which is, I think, kind of incredible when you think about it. I mean, uh, Native representation in media like this, and also being an anchor in a large market like this, and being able to show my moccasins point of cultural pride for all of our viewers was really a cool moment for me, and able to share the interview with the woman who really pushed this organization or this movement forward was so cool for our viewers, and it was shared, I swear, so many times. I mean, it was one of those videos that I think just really resonates with who I am, and with the people who I'm trying to bring a voice for. So thousands of likes, hundreds of shares, tens of thousands of views. So if you haven't checked it out, please do. And if you haven't listened to the conversation with the woman who founded the movement, Jessica Atsi from Laguna Pueblo, please check it out, because she just started some movement among her friends, and it became this global wide phenomenon. Well, that brings me to another topic today: representation for Gallup City Council. This is a story that I saw in the Navajo Times not too long ago. Sierra Yazzie Asamoa-Tutu, I hope I'm pronouncing that. She'll correct me if I'm not, but she just was recently elected to the Gallup City Council, the first Diné woman to sit on the council, representing a huge population in Gallup. So I'd like to welcome my guest, Sierra. Thank you so much for being here. Council elect, right? Councilwoman elect is what your title is now.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, for having me on, Colton. It's an honor to be with you.
Absolutely. If you would like to introduce yourself, I mean, please feel free to do.
Sure. Sierra Yazzie Asamoa-Tutu, Inishia. Bilagana Nishlin, Twaheglini Bashichi, Bilagana Dashache, Kiani Dashanella, Akotaudina Atsan Nishlin. I'm from Gallup. I grew up in this area, or the area that I grew up knowing called Tsayani Chi, where the Red Rocks end, kind of on the east side of Gallup by Rehoboth. And I love this area. I love this land. I'm proud to be from here. And I'm a mother, I'm a clinical social worker. I've just really invested in taking care of people and caring for my community. So I'm really excited to be starting this new role in this community and to form new connections with people who are making positive changes.
Well, congratulations on your win to the council seat. I know
Thank
that
you.
the Gallup area is home to a lot of Navajo people, and I know that Zuni Pueblo is also very close. So, what's it like to be part of this representation for a voice that may not have been represented on the council seats?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I'm actually still verifying. But from what I've heard, I am the first tribal member. And there also may have been people with mixed ancestry, such as myself, on the council before. So I've been asking around, and if any of your listeners or viewers happen to have information on that, I'd love to know. But just in my introduction, I'm Bilagana through my mother. And so being a person of mixed race is a big part of my identity. And I really view it as an opportunity because I think in the Native community, we can sometimes try to define, what people have to be in order to identify as Indigenous or as their tribe, and sometimes it's difficult. It's really comes out of a time of trauma around losing our identity and losing our language and culture. And I really hope that I just can be a voice that people can respect because I don't expect everybody to relate to me or to identify with me or to say, oh, she speaks for me. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to just listen to people. And that's something that I know that I'm good at. I've been doing for a long time. I love getting to know people, hearing their stories. I've been a mental health therapist for over 13 years. And so just that job, is creating space and creating safe space for people to be who they are and to find their voice and to find a path in their own life and their own individual journey to being their best self. And so the way I see it, I'm now taking that to more of a systemic and community level.
Yeah. Would love to hear more about your plans in just a bit, but tell me about Gallup. I mean, I love Gallup. My family, my mom's side, is from Lukachika, so whenever we needed to go to Walmart, we went to Gallup, or if we needed moccasins, we'd go to City Electric,
Yeah.
and go to Earl's, of course, the restaurant out there. And when I lived in Albuquerque, reporting for and anchoring for another station out there, I mean, I had done several stories out in that space.
Mhm.
How and why is Gallup so special to you?
Well, that's just it, right? We have a city here that is so much larger than its official city limits. And what Gallup is really in a unique position, not even similar to other border towns of the Navajo Nation, but different also because of the way that we are right on this main transportation line of I-40 and Route 66. Because of the way that we're landlocked, so to speak, by trust land and reservation boundaries, we have more residents in McKinley County and outside the city limits who really participate in the life of the city of Gallup than those that actually reside
Hmm.
within the city limits. And so it creates a very interesting dynamic. And I think it's important for us in the city government to remember that, and to remember that when we're making decisions, it's not just for the 22,000 people that reside in the city. It's going to affect thousands and thousands more people who call Gallup home, or who have their business and educational centers here, who are constantly in town for shopping and other things. And it's really a very large community that extends beyond the city limits. And so that makes Gallup unique, even though we do have almost half of our residential population identifying as Native American. It's also, that doesn't include like a larger group of people like me who identify as Native American, as well as one or more other races. And so the demographic data, if you take it into consideration, all of the people, we're definitely more than half
Yeah, I remember.
identifying as Native American. Yeah. And we've just not had representation at the level of decision making about the town.
So, with that perspective and that mindset, how do you bring that representation to city policies going forward?
To me, it's just asking questions, right? It's asking a lot of questions about who is this going to impact, in negative or positive ways? Who's benefiting from this decision? Or have we talked to the people about this and what they want? And that's a large part of my platform, and what I'm planning to do is, invest a lot of time and energy into talking to people, just even in informal ways, to get out around and like kind of canvass the neighborhoods and talk to residents about whether they support something or not, or what they need to have happen in their neighborhood, and to stay in touch with people that way, to have very regular town halls and to have neighborhood association meetings so that we can just listen and hear from the people themselves. And I think that's the best way to represent what the actual residents need and want.
As I was living out in New Mexico and doing some reporting out there, especially when it came to several years ago, there was a crisis where I don't know if it's still ongoing, where many people would die of exposure deaths just because there weren't any resources for homeless or those who uh, are seeking substance abuse issues and problems like that. Is that something that kind of also spurred you to run? Because when we were reporting, it was like I think 90% Native American people who were the ones who were freezing to death during the winter months, which is terrible.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, it is a big part of, I guess, not necessarily in my decision to run, but it's a big part of what I hope to positively impact as a social worker, and working on housing, access to shelter, everything from emergency shelter, transitional housing, affordable housing, and housing for purchase. We have a great lack of housing here, but in regards to the unsheltered population and substance abuse issues, there is a connection and it's not a one-to-one connection, right? So we need different types of services that meet people's basic needs. And I would love to see the city of Gallup have a lot more emergency shelter to prevent those kind of exposure deaths, preventable deaths, and just to see those human beings as our relatives, as our neighbors, brothers and sisters, uncles and aunties, that, sometimes I think there's this misperception that people deserve to suffer if, because of the choices that they've made. And I just fundamentally disagree with that. I think that it's our responsibility, if we have the means, to help take care of other people and to make sure that, we're not forgetting anybody, not leaving anybody behind in the community.
Yeah.
As a mental health practitioner, I understand that there's a lot of pain and trauma, behind those types of issues, and it's not the kind of thing that you can simply fix for a person or say, well, just make different choices. Sometimes those are the only choices available to people, and unless we offer them different types of options, why will it ever be different?
When it comes to Gallup, obviously there's a huge cultural pride within it, with the Native American communities that are so closely by the city. I remember speaking to officials who say, like, during the weekends, the population of Gallup will like grow 3 times as much as surrounding
Yeah.
communities come in. When you are on the city council, how will that shape what kind of like infrastructure or policies you would like to introduce or create moving forward?
Well, I think that Gallup has a lot of room for economic growth. It's something that I'm just starting to look more into right now, but people do come here for entertainment, and we don't have a lot of entertainment venues actually. I think that Gallup could offer a lot more that people end up going to Albuquerque or Phoenix for. And we'll just have to see, as this stuff plays out, like what's available and what happens. How those types of changes are actually possible or what people want. I know that a lot of people come into Gallup, even just for the Saturday flea market, or like you said, for Walmart. And people are asking for more big box stores like a Sam's Club or a Costco. I
Mm.
think I think that should be totally doable. We've got new development expansion. We have land available now on the northwest side where we just annexed a large area of land, where that's possible that we could have more things like that come in.
Yeah. I growing up, when we would go back to my family on the res in Lukachukai, when I was younger, like before my teens, when they didn't have electricity, and I think they're still in the process of getting running water. I think that's almost going to happen within the next few months or so. But like, I remember being so excited when we would be there for like, a week at a time,
Mhm.
and we would go to Gallup. And I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, we're here, and we get to do all these fun things. And what when you like think back to your childhood, what was Gallup like for you? I mean, for me, Gallup was like, oh, okay, cool. We get to, be around lights and, hang out and go to Earl's and all that stuff. Like, what was Gallup like to you growing up? Because for me, I always have
Mhm.
like these fond memories of going, like going to get the hay, and going to, grab things that were needed around the house and things like, or going to Blake's, like I always go back to my
Mhm.
memories and think, okay, that was fun for me. It was fun to go and hang out.
Yeah, I definitely have some memories like that. Growing up, I would say a lot of my time and I'm sorry about that. I say a lot of my time and memories are based in being outdoors. And so I really appreciate the outdoor recreation of this area, even just going out for walks, and taking my kids outside. There's lots of trails and places to kind of climb around and be on the rocks, be in the sagebrush and the piñons. Like I personally have a very strong connection to the land because of all that time that I spent outdoors. And my family didn't go out a whole lot. We were really home a lot. And then, so I think that that's part of why, but as I got older and got into like my high school years, of course, once I could drive, It was going out with my friends, and it was the same thing. Like, we would go outside a lot too and hang out somewhere, but we would also go to the Denny's. Like, when the East Side Denny's came in,
Uh-huh.
that was like the spot that we would go hang out at night and just like get a milkshake or something and sit around with our friends. So I have those kind of memories of like seeing as different businesses came into Gallup and it would kind of become like the cool new spot to go.
Has there been much growth? I mean, from just like striving through, can Gallup grow, or is it kind of like you mentioned, sort of landlocked? Or is it able to expand any, towards the east or the west, or anything like that?
Well, one of the ways that I think we can have growth without expanding east, west, north, south is
Hmm.
by utilizing more of the vacant properties that we have in town and finding businesses that see the economic potential here and decide to utilize some of those lots and empty buildings because that really makes the town feel um, just sad. You know, when you drive around and you see these empty buildings or like rundown places. And it's a safety risk too,
Hmm.
because there are people who break in or who may be looking for shelter and break windows or whatever's going on. So there's a lot of properties that we could develop that are already within the city limits. And then, like I said, it looks like where we just annexed a large area of land to the northwest. So kind of from Gamerco and going out towards Manuelito chapter, that whole area above north of Mentmore is an area of land that can all be developed.
Right now, when you think about your incoming position, because you'll be sworn in January, correct? That's when that
Right.
happens. There's this huge, in the last several years, this huge, I would say, wave of people who identify as Native American, who are Native American, assuming these elected spots and leadership roles. What's it like to be a part of
Mhm.
that, to represent a section of the population that for a long time really hasn't had that kind of representation?
It's really exciting. I love the support that I've gotten from organizations like Advanced Native Political Leadership. They endorsed me early on in the campaign, and that was a huge moment of pride for me, to feel like there was something that I offered that the broader Native community really believed in and wanted to support. And then I'm seeing this, through their network specifically, all of the different candidates around the country who have gotten into office. I think it's great because there's always this question of uh, do we engage the system or stay out of it?
Hmm.
And it kind of goes back to the era of forced assimilation, that, well, if we join, say, what quote unquote the white world, if we do that education and if we do that system and if we do things that way, do we lose who we are? And at the same time, the decisions getting made about us and our children and our grandchildren are happening there. So if we don't engage, you can choose to kind of live life outside the system. There are a lot of people who are very disillusioned about voting, who would probably never consider running for office. And to be honest, I never considered running for office before about a year ago. So it was kind of a surprise to myself that I even chose to do this. But I do look around and see that it's important to for the people that can to go into the system and to try to speak up for changes that do positively impact our communities as we have been more vulnerable, historically oppressed, and not taken into consideration when decisions are made, policies are made. And so I'm really excited to be part of that movement and to get started in it.
Take me back to that moment where you decided, I want to run.
um, it took me about 2 weeks. I thought, I had this conversation with a friend of mine specifically about the lack of representation in Gallup historically, that there hadn't been Native people and Navajo people in the city government at any level. And I found I was shocked because I hadn't lived away from Gallup for several years and moved back. And I thought for sure in that time it had been different. And so to learn that it hadn't changed really disappointed me and really made me feel like somebody's got to do this. And then I kind of, from there, I kind of attribute it to something bigger that was stirring in me because I couldn't sleep after that conversation. I had trouble sleeping, where for about 2 weeks, I would lay up at night and think, I think it has to be me. I think I have to do this. And so just kind of that inner voice, that stirring of knowing that something is happening here and I think I need to pay attention to it. I think a lot of people have moments like that, where you might doubt yourself or might feel like this can't be really happening, or no, that's probably, I'm just making this up. But the more that you sit with yourself, and especially in whatever spiritual tradition people have, we have ways of kind of sitting with that and questioning and asking for validation. And that's it, just sort of settled in to me. Like, I would say in my body and in my bones, I felt like this was something that I had to do.
Yeah. When it comes to your background, how much of that do you think is going to play a part in the way you make decisions going forward or creating policies?
Um, can you be more specific? Like, what part of my background do you
I
mean?
like, your native background, your mental health background, social worker background. Like, what do you plan to, as a mom, as a community member, how do you plan to bring yourself, your perspective to the council?
Okay. Well, it's part of why I think I wouldn't have done this earlier in my life, is that it took a long time for me to get really confident in who I am, and in sorting all of that in terms of what are my gifts and what are the things that I'm really good at and how can I put that to use in the world. So I'm 41 now, and I feel like I've finally kind of turned a big corner in terms of my personal confidence and my ability to really truly be my authentic self around people, around my community. And that's, to me, like the most important thing going forward, is that I stay true to my authentic self and to just be who I am. It's something that I hope everybody, has the opportunity to feel in life, is just that um, you are who you are for a reason. You're meant to be you. You're given the experiences and the insights in life and the gifts that you have for a reason. And so I think that when I picture myself, trying to make difficult decisions, I know there will be hard days. I know there will be things that I just don't know what to do about, or that I take criticism for. And you really have to just have a strong grounding to say that, we'll go back to the reasons of, this is why I'm doing this. This is who I am. This is what I care about and what I value. These are my values, to take care of people, to look out for the most vulnerable, to encourage people to be a better version of themselves. And so in the community level, to encourage the city of Gallup to be a better version of itself, and to really step into the challenge of taking care of each other. I think that's really kind of the core value that I'm coming back to as I go through this process.
Awesome. Hard question for you now. Is El Rancho Hotel really haunted?
Of course.
I saw that
Everybody knows that.
that Ghost Adventures episode. That one really freaked me out. It was a pretty creepy one. I don't know if you saw that one.
Oh, really? No, but I just absolutely believe in hauntings, so I'm like, sure, of course it is.
Yeah.
But no, I haven't actually watched that. I'm not into horror.
Okay.
That's one thing about me. Like, I don't take pleasure in that kind of thing, but yeah, I would say that there's not a doubt in my mind.
Yeah. So of course, El Rancho Hotel, super famous, iconic. Many movie stars back in the heyday of like Hollywood era would stay
Hmm.
there, and yeah, no, I've had lunch there at the restaurant once. I think it was the Ronald Reagan meal where you get jelly beans with the hamburger. I
Oh,
got
yeah.
that. Yeah, that was
Yep.
good. And I remember going to the bathroom, and I was like, this place is scary, but it was a cool place, and I'm glad, like, spots like that are preserved, and also the traditions, especially of the Native community, are on full display. I mean, there, you got the ceremonials that happened and all that, so it's like something that is. I feel like it's really a small town, and you really feel that when you're there. Like the people really care
Hmm.
about each other and love their place.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very true. And At the same time, right? Like, yes, taking all of it into consideration. At the same time, when you look at history and when you look at the historical context of how we got to where we are today, you have to acknowledge and recognize the inequities and the injustice that has happened in order for this town to thrive. And I think it's something that people have a hard time talking about, that I am actually excited about, trying to have those conversations and encouraging people to just take a look at it. The El Rancho Hotel has actually been, they did a big renovation on the whole downstairs, like the gift shop area and the restaurant and bar. It's a beautiful place to go and to eat, and it brings a lot of people through. And I love going there, and it's a part of who we are as a town. And so I think we just have to continue to do that work of looking at who we are as a town and who we want to be as a town. And we have a lot of people living here now that aren't from here or that don't have ties to this area and who want to see things happen here that are good for everybody too. So I think it's important to listen to all of those voices and to consider what's going to be best for the most people.
Yeah. And before we leave, just another question because you brought it up. It's interesting. Are people ready to have those discussions about those policies and inequity challenges that help bring Gallup to be what it is?
I believe so. I honestly do. In talking to a lot of people throughout the campaign and just friends and acquaintances over the last several months and years of living here, um, I have felt like there is a wide awareness of that, and that people just don't know how. They don't know how to talk about it and how to address it. But when you create the space, you kind of set the table and invite people to sit down and to look at it in a loving way and not in a threatening way. People do and have been willing to have difficult conversations and to just work on understanding each other better, because it's 2025, and we live in a world that's so connected. We're so globalized as a community, as a human family, and we have exposure to so many different types of people and different things. And it's really important to just give each other that basic honor of saying, you know what, we're the same in a lot of ways. We're different, but we're the same and we have the same interest here. And we just want everybody to be okay.
Right.
So that's the way that I approach the conversation is, I'm going to assume the best in people. I'm going to assume that everybody has a good heart and has kindness to offer, and that when we come to the table with that mutual respect, we can take on anything.
Excellent. All right. Councilwoman-elect, thank you so much, and much success as you encounter this new endeavor, and good luck on your swearing in and all that. Thank you so much for
Thank you
joining.
so much, Colton. I appreciate you having me on today.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Thank you all so much again for listening. That was my conversation with Councilwoman-elect Sierra Yazzie. I'm going to get her last name wrong. Watch, but I got it right here. Amasoa. How do I say that again? I'm sorry.
Asamoa-Tutu.
Tutu. There we go. Well, thank you again. Lightning conversation, seeing this wave of Indigenous people assume these roles in political offices on both sides of the aisle here. So I know that representation is important for so many people, and to see this happening across the country is very exciting to see. All right. Well, thank you again so much for listening. Until next time, I'm Colton Shone, here before, here now.